I'm your host, Sanna Wani, and today we'll be doing something a little bit different. It's going to be a really short episode, and it's actually all based on this post that I made on my brand new Substack, which is called Another Mountain, the Substack. The post itself is called Starlings in Winter, and I'll have the links to everything below in case you'd like to read along. This podcast episode was really hard to make. It took a really long time, and it was kind of like the Substack was the way in that I needed to make the episode and vice versa. It's called Poet Talk About Newness because it's all about newness for a practical and a poetic reason that we'll get to eventually. But anyway, here it is. Poet Talk About Newness. The other day, we saw birds in our new backyard for the first time. There was a bright red cardinal, and then under the blue pine, a grackle. Barely visible above the crushed winter grass, finally I saw a starling. I asked Nick, what's a manna in English? Like he would know. I thought this bird looked a lot like the blackbirds in Kashmir that my Nana hated. They loved eating from his garden. They were honestly pretty audacious. Known mostly for their sleek black feathers, orange eyes. They're the title poem, or like the title bird in the poem by Mary Oliver that I named the Substack that inspires this episode after. And in this country, I definitely agree, but in Srinagar, they really are much more annoying. Sometimes they even talk, mimic locals, and I'd rather say they look like soot. Soon, though, my questions were abandoned. The cat jumped on the windowsill to look at what we were looking at, and whenever we gathered to do something together, the animals gathered too. In our old home, there was no place for the cat to watch the birds, and so for the first time in 3 years, we watch him chirp and chatter. The dog, helplessly small, sits by our feet, as she usually does. Junie watches Toku watching something. She's not quite sure what, but at least he's telling her about it. I spent a good portion of the last year trying to record this episode. By trying, really I mean procrastinating. By procrastinating, really I mean thinking about it intermittently, berating myself for it, then going back to ignoring it. I tortured myself, and this thorn in my side dug deeper. It was supposed to be Poet Talk About the next year, which became Poet Talk About the new year, and eventually Poet Talk About Newness, as I missed both deadlines of both years. When I began Poet Talk, I really prided myself on the slowness embedded in the process. It was a way to ensure sustainability. But it was around month 5 of feeling stuck here with this episode that I realized maybe there was something deeper going on with my resistance. Every artist knows the latent drain of a self-imposed deadline. You promise yourself you write 500 words a day, you miss one, it all feels stupid. You promise yourself you'll get through at least a third of the unread books on your shelf, but you buy a new one when you're at the store. Maybe you're reading this and you're thinking, I don't really do that. Or maybe you're like not a writer or an artist at all, but you're a person and you make promises to yourself. Maybe to eat better, to work out more, to meditate every day, to stay off your phone. And every promise you don't keep feels like pushing a thumbtack into your sternum. A small and painful reminder that under capitalism, trying to have control of your own life feels like trying to wrangle an elephant, which is what I almost titled that my entire new Substack, by the way, but Nick talked me out of it. Maybe I'm making excuses. Maybe you're like a genius or that guy who wrote Atomic Habits, which is really annoying but helpful, and teaches you all about how to just make your life better, all capitals there. Or maybe you're just a very disciplined person and not a lot of the above makes sense to you. Maybe you're very wealthy. You can outsource your issues to people who will manage them for you. Irregardless, the plight of this avoidant episode thing revealed to me that I often will assume something is a personal failing, like a lack of time management skills, for an embarrassingly long amount of time before actually considering maybe I should just do something else. And so we arrive at the newsletter that is inspiring this podcast, and they kind of like work in this very cyclical, mirrored way. Because with the newsletter, there was the realization, the obvious truth staring me in the face, that maybe I just didn't want to talk into a mic by myself. Maybe I'm not really good at it. Maybe that's why I found a co-host in the first place. I've never been a soloist in conversation. All along, that's what the page has been for. I stopped writing newsletters around the eve of this podcast, and the last proper one was months before that. I started writing them on the eve of a return to Canada in one of the low tides of the pandemic, the death of my old dog Lola, the feeling that there was something I wanted to say and it wasn't a poem, wasn't really a short story or an essay. It was a letter, an open letter, which is all a newsletter is, isn't it? The form of the direct address I wrote in my very last letter, and to my friend Harry, who was visiting at the time, and who writes his own beautiful letters to the world. If you're hearing this, or reading it, there's a chance that you read that old newsletter. It felt complete. When it was over, I was sure I wouldn't return to the forum, and that's hubris. That's capitalism whispering in my ear that once you climb a mountain, you don't need to climb another. All experiences are finite and complete rather than limitless and recursive. Of course, I would end up back here. Just like anything else, genre 2 is a series of returns. Writing life, I circle them like the hawks of my childhood. But lately, these days, I'm trying something new. I'm trying not to impose completeness. I'm trying to resist that urge inside of me, the ludicrous perfectionist that must turn any activity into a vocation. The one that takes one yoga class and thinks, I could teach this, putting aside the thousands of dollars that would cost. That picks up pottery for 9 months and burns myself out in an effort to immediately become a master. In Good Material by Dolly Alderton, an excellent novel about a breakup, by the way, I think it was Jen describing Andy. He thinks being ambitious means wanting to get accolades and praise for something rather than wanting to get better at something. And in Miranda July's All Fours, there's that grit, release, how the main character is trying to get through life, the collapsing of productivity and penance. All of this, to me, is the mountain. For so long, I confused mastery with artistry, but what I'm trying to do here, what I'm trying to do now, is follow my desire to create without the need to compile, to make without judgment, without refinement, to stop confusing skill with satisfaction. A list of things I've learned about myself as an artist rather than a writer. I love fun. I hate structure. I love mornings. I hate waking up early. Movement and creativity are two valves of the same engine. I don't know if I believe in creativity as a god, but I definitely believe in its spiritual potential. I can hunger for good art like I hunger for a good meal. I've been starving. I've been avoiding my starving. I'm interested in storytelling. I'm interested in the creaturely. I'm addicted to desire, and I'm addicted to validation. I'm addicted to my phone. I believe change is possible. I believe in trying. I'm grateful to still feel inspired by the world. I'm learning when to push myself and when to let go. One, if not the most important update I had for this episode, which is probably also why I kept avoiding it, was the practical and poetic reason that it was about newness. Jody and I agreed that they would depart from the project. It was an amicable agreement a few months in the making before it was finalized. From the beginning, this podcast has been my burden to bear and bounty to bottom line, but they were meaningful as a collaborator, and it wouldn't have been possible to start without them. Increasingly, though, in 2025, we realized that life was taking our work in different directions and that the podcast collaboration was maybe not as smooth of a fit anymore. When I wrote that out, what might be obvious to someone else became clear to me. Obviously, it's hard to return to something when it's changed. Obviously, there was something for me to mourn in Jodi's departure that I haven't admitted to until now. Not anything really between us. Jodi remains a beloved friend and forever collaborator. One of those people I think of when I remember what Fred Moten and Stefano Harvey say in their interview at the end of the Undercommons, that it's less so particular ideas that we cling to across the course of our lives, and more so particular people. Study as a social practice. Maybe what I was mourning was simply the act of starting over. Newness again. Like everyone, I was sad in January and confused about the direction of my life, the quality of my craft, the reality of the world. Newness is not cause or cure, but it is consistent, and I clung to it. Like ice after the snow, it clung to me. Bahar Orang, in her inimitable text Where Things Touch, describes a baby's birth as, I hope you know that something in you will be reborn several times over, and today, for the first time, when you emerged like an aria, addressing all of us like a dream. They're really endless, these emergences. No wonder I walked around avoiding the truth for 6 months. But after the hump of resentment, possibility, the reason that Jodi and I split was because there was already a newness embedding itself between us. 2 years had passed since the first episode, and now everyone has a podcast. I'm left with questions like, what do I really want to do here? How am I to make use of this medium meaningfully, and where should it go next? Jodi is one of my study partners in art and writing life, but I'm lucky to have many more. I think that I want to dedicate the space of Poet Talk to them. There are so many artists in my city and in my orbit doing incredible work. Some of them at the forefront of my mind right now are Furqan Muhammad, Zach Jones, EJ Neifel, Anupa Mistry, Trin Delaney, Manahil Bandukwala, Victoria Mbabazi, and so many more. If we are who we are surrounded by, then I am no one without them. Fatima Asghar, my people, I can't be lost when I see you. My community. Eventually, selfishly, once I'm ready, I'd like Poet Talk to archive the fungal web of artists that make me who I am. I'd like to build a record I might look back on 40 or 50 years from now and think, yes, that was my community. Those were the people that I was thinking and writing with, and maybe I still am. This summer, I'm taking Nick home to Kashmir for the very first time. One of the places I'm the most excited to take him is Gulmarg, a childhood park, unfortunately also like a military base, valley of dreams and roses. It's strange that it's named that, Gul, when it's mostly lupins and daisies. When you visit Gulmarg, you could choose to go to the strawberry fields where everyone picnics, take the long, winding trail through the bowl of the valley, or grab something to eat at one of the hotels. You can also go up the gondola to Afarwat Peak. You can't stop by the daisy field or the graveyard, by the way. The soldiers will get mad at you and blow their whistles. I once wrote a whole poem about that. On the second level of the gondola, there are the widest green plains you've ever seen and a waterfall if you go east. Mountains capped with snow all around, wild horses, shepherds returning from distant fields. You can even glimpse Pakistan if you walk all the way to the western edge, or if you sit on one of those red plastic chairs at the hilltop dhaba to have aloo paratha and chai. I love that field. I love its undulations, its green, its shy streams. To me, it is the most beautiful place in the world. It's not entirely new, but it's waiting. We'll get to be there together, and that newness is whole. A faith I'm practicing like hope. Fragile, but still thrumming, wind shivering, as patient as the birds returning to our garden, to our trees. So if you like this episode, I would encourage you to share it with poet and non-poet friends alike, and to please leave a review, comment, or rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening. Don't forget to click that follow button too so you don't miss our next episode. Poet Talk is produced and created by me, Sanna Wani. The show music includes songs from the album Elise's Awesome Dance Adventure by Komiku, including Elise's theme as the intro and a calm moment to remember before taking the dangerous road as the outro. The transitional music is an anarchist utopia, and that weird feeling when you understand that you are alone and the only hope. You can learn more about Komiku at loyaltyfreakmusic.com. For more information and to support Poet Talk, you can visit our website, poettalk.buzzsprout.com, or follow us on Instagram at talkpoet. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.